Our story begins with Millie, who is desperate. She is currently homeless, living out of her car, and carrying a heavy criminal record that makes finding a decent job nearly impossible. So, when she interviews for a live-in housemaid position at the luxurious Winchester mansion, she fully expects to be rejected. The wealthy lady of the house, Nina, seems genuinely impressed by Millie's resume, despite it being a complete fabrication. Nina explains the role. Millie will clean, live in the attic, and help care for her young daughter, Cecilia. Nina also confides that she is pregnant, though she hasn't told her husband yet. After the interview, Millie returns to her harsh reality, cleaning herself up in public mall bathrooms and sleeping in her car. When a police officer taps on her window, warning her she can't sleep there, she has to lie, claiming she is on her way to her mother's house. Just then, her phone rings. It is Nina, offering her the job. Millie is overjoyed, believing her luck has finally turned. However, when Millie arrives at the mansion, the dream quickly unravels. The house is a total disaster, and Nina is in the middle of a frantic meltdown, stressed over a speech she has to prepare. When Nina's husband, Andrew, returns home with Cecilia, he is surprised to see a housemaid, having never been consulted about the hire. Still, he is remarkably polite and invites Millie to join them for dinner, though she declines and heads to her new room. In the attic, Millie notices something deeply unsettling. Her bedroom door locks from the outside, and the window is completely sealed shut. When she asks Nina about this the next day, Nina casually brushes it off, promising to find the key later. The next morning, Millie wakes up panicked and trapped. She has to yank the stuck attic door with all her strength just to get out. Downstairs, Nina is throwing another massive tantrum, screaming that Millie threw away her important notes. Andrew comforts his crying wife and apologizes to Millie, explaining that Nina has been acting incredibly strange and erratic lately. Later, while taking out the trash, Millie encounters the quiet groundskeeper, Enzo. He looks at her with a mixture of pity and fear, attempting to warn her about the family. But before he can explain, he freezes. Millie looks up and sees Nina's chilling silhouette watching them from a window. Enzo immediately walks away, leaving Millie with a growing sense of dread. Strange and eerie occurrences continue to pile up. Nina silently creeps up behind Millie while she is cleaning, making her feel constantly watched. Meanwhile, their daughter Cecilia behaves like a spoiled brat, demanding a fresh glass at dinner because juice is a privilege. On her day off, Millie's parole officer warns her that losing this job means violating parole and going straight back to prison. When Millie returns, Andrew's arrogant mother, Evelyn, criticizes her background while showing off her expensive, ancestral London china. Millie carefully stores the plates away, promising to keep them safe from Nina's clumsiness. Desperate for comfort, Millie goes downstairs late one night to watch TV. Andrew joins her on the couch. He is warm and empathetic and tells her about Nina's tragic past, how her parents died in a house fire that Nina was suspected of starting. Suddenly, Nina catches them together. She is furious and demands that Millie pack her bags by morning. Millie begs for mercy, and Nina agrees to give her 1 week to prove herself, warning her to dress more appropriately and stay away from her husband. The next morning, Millie overhears some of the wealthy neighborhood moms gossiping during a small gathering at the mansion. They reveal several shocking details that completely contradict Nina's stories. They mention Nina cannot get pregnant. Even more shocking, they whisper about how Nina spent 9 consecutive months in a locked psychiatric ward and discuss her incredibly strict prenuptial agreement. If Andrew ever decides to divorce her, she will be left with absolutely nothing, not even custody of Cecilia. This completely contradicts Nina's pregnancy story. Millie's suspicion and paranoia grow even further when she secretly searches the medicine cabinet and discovers heavy prescriptions for acute psychosis. She realizes she needs to get out of this house as fast as possible, but with her criminal record and parole status, her escape options are running out. One evening, blood-curdling screams echo loudly from the master bedroom, shattering the silence of the mansion. Millie runs down the hallway to find a terrifying scene. Nina is holding a sharp knife, her eyes wild, while screaming at Andrew. Andrew, though visibly bleeding from a fresh wound, remains remarkably calm. He gently disarms his hysterical wife, wraps a towel around his injury, and politely closes the door, shutting Millie out. The very next morning, Nina behaves as if nothing happened at all. She cheerfully pressures Millie to book expensive theater tickets in a romantic weekend hotel room for Andrew and herself as a surprise. She tells Millie that Cecilia will be staying at a friend's house, meaning Millie will have the entire weekend completely off to herself. At Cecilia's ballet class, another nanny drops a bombshell. Nina once tried to drown Cecilia, and Andrew had to call the police to save the girl, landing Nina in a psych asylum. Back at the house, Nina suddenly accuses Millie of booking the expensive tickets without permission, claiming she already had plans to take Cecilia to camp. She demands that the ticket cost be deducted from Millie's paycheck. Andrew steps in, saves Millie from the deduction, and suggests that since the tickets are non-refundable, he and Millie should go together. Millie wears one of Nina's dresses to the theater. Andrew is captivated, telling her she looks beautiful. They have an incredible evening, and Andrew confesses how miserable his marriage is, comparing Millie's sweetness to how Nina used to be. Because Andrew has had too much to drink, they stay at a hotel in separate rooms. But in the middle of the night, Millie receives a barrage of angry texts from Nina. She is fired. Panic-stricken, Millie knocks on Andrew's door. He comforts her. In an emotional heat of the moment, they cross the line. The next day, they return to the mansion. Nina suddenly asks Millie if she learned to cook in prison. She knows everything about Millie's criminal past. Nina then sends Millie to the store at her car. At the supermarket, Millie discovers the phone Nina gave her has a built-in tracker. As she gets in a car, the police arrest her because the vehicle was reported stolen. Andrew rushes to the station, clears up the misunderstanding, and gets her released. Back at the house, Nina confronts them, threatening to report Millie to her parole officer for theft and adultery. Andrew finally snaps, yells at Nina, and orders her to leave the house. Nina slaps Millie and storms out. For a brief moment, Millie and Andrew enjoy a peaceful dynamic. Millie decides to surprise him by using his family's precious china plates, but Enzo startles her, causing a plate to shatter. Andrew fires Enzo on the spot. That evening, Andrew carries Millie up to the attic, but when she wakes up, she finds herself locked inside. Andrew's voice through the door is cold. He tells her she must pay for breaking his priceless heirloom. He slides a sharp piece of the broken china under the door, instructing her to carve 21 deep lines into her stomach, one for each broken shard. At this moment, the dark truth of the Winchester household is revealed. Nina wasn't the monster, Andrew was. Years ago, Nina was a brilliant law student who fell for a married professor. When he abandoned her, Andrew stepped in like a charming savior. But once they were married, his control turned sadistic. He forced her to dye her hair blonde. When she forgot, he locked her in the attic and forced her to pull out 100 strands of her hair by the roots before he would let her out. He drugged her water, causing her to pass out, and staged the drowning of Cecilia to frame her as insane, forcing her into a psychiatric ward to keep her compliant. Nina knew she couldn't escape on her own. She realized Andrew had a type, vulnerable, blonde women with no one to look out for them. She hired Millie specifically because of Millie's past. Millie wasn't just a maid. She was a woman who had previously killed an abusive man. Nina knew Millie would fight back. Back in the attic, Millie refuses to break. She cuts herself just enough to satisfy his demand, then lies in wait. When Andrew enters the room, Millie stabs him with a knife Nina had secretly hidden for her. She locks him in the room, watching him scream on the security cameras while she calmly eats downstairs. While monitoring him, Millie sees a message from Andrew's mother about divorce papers. Realizing Andrew's entire life of privilege is about to collapse, Millie decides to break him completely. She takes the rest of his family's precious china plates upstairs. She slides a pair of pliers under the door and tells him that if he wants to get out, he must pull out his own teeth, the very teeth he uses to charm his victims. As she smashes the plates one by one and pours gasoline, a terrified Andrew uses the pliers to rip out his own teeth, sliding them under the door. That night, Nina sneaks back into the house to free Millie, but she accidentally unlocks the attic door where Andrew is trapped. Andrew rushes out and throws Nina down the stairs. He chases Millie outside, screaming for her to return. When Nina stands up to confront him, telling him his entire life is a pathetic sham, Andrew tries to attack her. Millie charges from behind, shoving Andrew down the stairs. The fall kills him instantly. Nina quickly orchestrates a cover-up, unscrewing a light bulb to make it look like a tragic accident. When the police arrive, Nina calmly explains that Andrew fell while changing the bulb. She even mentions that her sister, Kathy, was once engaged to Andrew and was never the same, hinting at his long history of abuse. After the funeral, Nina sells the mansion and prepares to move to Los Angeles. She gives Millie a generous check to help her start over. Later, Millie had a new housemaid interview. The wealthy wife, who hired her based on Nina's glowing recommendation, subtly hints that her husband is abusive. She asks Millie when she can start. The Housemaid 2025 movie recap ends with Millie smiling. knowing exactly what she has to do. And finally, the cycle of vigilante justice is about to begin again.